What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. Just doing our kind of daily checkup. Today, let me turn the volume down. Let me see if that is that better. I hope that's better. I saw that I was off the charts there for a second, but anyways, I want to talk about some stuff today that I've after watching some bigger accounts in YouTube. I feel like there's something that needs to be said. Okay, there seems to be this anticipation, this thought that by the end of this month, if not early next month, we're going to be at new all-time highs. There seems to be this anticipation that month after month, apparently that's all we're doing is setting new all-time highs, whenever that's not generally how this market works for crypto. For Bitcoin specifically, right? So this video is a Bitcoin video. I'm going to pause the music. A couple big accounts, man, that they seem to think that because, and like a lot of us, right, and I'm not going to name these accounts, I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but the main reason I'm even bringing it up, that there are other accounts that are far larger than mine talking about we're going to be at new all-time highs by the end of this month. The only reason I'm talking about that is because I'm sure a lot of you see it. Maybe you who are new to this channel, who've never seen me before, maybe you've seen this and heard this stuff. And I want to make it very clear. I'm going to go over some of the same stuff I've been going over for the past few weeks here, but I want to make it very clear that we are likely not going to see new all-time highs until, at the best case scenario, early June. Like it is possible, but I'm really thinking probably August or September. My personal belief would be like August, September, if not maybe July. I don't see it happening this month. I don't see it happening next month. That doesn't mean we're moving down the whole time. Bitcoin can move sideways for an extended amount of time, but a lot of people are calling for this low to be the low, and I'm not convinced. I've been saying that since this day here, since our big day there, 6%. It's really not that big, right? Since all these days, I've been saying that I'm pretty convinced that this is our low. The area that we would have needed to break to convince me that that's not the low, or that. Did I say that I'm convinced that that is the low? I want to say that I'm convinced that that's not the low. If I've been confusing at all, let me set the record straight and say I do not think that's the low. And I know I've said that over the past few days, but what I was saying that would convince me that this low is real, that it is the low, we're not going lower than it, would be a break above 66K. And I forget why. I just remember saying that. That's why, because it's the 618. Okay, that makes sense, yeah. And we didn't. We actually had a very bearish interaction with this 618. For those of you that don't know, from a high to a low here, you can see where, right, the anchor point is this little blue circle. I'm going to delete the white circle here, but you can see where the other anchor point is. I'm drawing on the fib retracement scale here range, I guess, from high down to this low. The golden ratio, the 61.8% golden ratio, we reached for it and couldn't get to it. Yes, we touched it back here. Yes, we did, but that doesn't count because that was before the anchor. So this is our first real interaction. It got front ran. There's so much selling pressure that we reached for it. We couldn't even get to it, and we sold off. That's definitely a rejection candle, in my opinion, right? No volume the 2 days before, and we got a lot more volume, probably as much volume as these previous 2 days together in that one day, of which was a rejection candle. I think this is very telling of what's to come for BTC and crypto for the rest of this month. I really do. I believe that for the rest of the month of May, we're going to be very, very boring. Every time we find a low, the story's going to be, we're going to new all-time highs. Every time we find a high, the story's going to be, we're going to 40K, 30K, right? Below 50K. It's just going to be one way or another, and it's not going to be somewhere in the middle, right, where who knows what happens, but it's not that we're moving up or down. We're just kind of moving sideways with a slow upward trajectory over the next month or two, is my real thoughts. And I'm not just saying this as a random state of mind. This format of what is going to happen didn't just come to me in a dream, right? We've analyzed the charts, and this is what I mean when I said earlier that I've talked about this over the past few weeks, but there's a reason why I've talked about it over the past few weeks, because we've had the halving happen. It's a very important event. A lot of people think, there's a narrative, I want to touch on this real quick, because I've been meaning to touch on this in my Bitcoin videos, but you guys might hear the narrative that as time goes on, the Bitcoin halvings aren't going to matter, right? Because they won't have as much of an impact on the market because once upon a time, I don't know how many Bitcoins are being mined per block before the first halving, but let's say it was 10,000. There were 10,000 a day, and then it was 5,000, and then it was 2,500, and then whittles its way all the way down, 100 years from now, or maybe not even 100 years from now, but like 50, 60 years from now, whittles its way down to where you're having a minuscule amount of the supply, right? We have a total supply of 21 million. Let's say the amount of Bitcoins being pumped into the market per day was like 500. That's really not that significant. And even now, I believe it's actually less than 500. It's like 450, I think, right? Or something like that. I wonder, how many Bitcoins are mined per day? 900 Bitcoins, but this is before the halving. I'm fairly positive. March 29th, yeah, this was before the halving. So 450 Bitcoins now out of a total of like 20 million coins that are in circulation. That's not that significant, right? We can agree that's not that significant, but what is significant about the halvings is not just the supply. It is the supply cut. It really is the supply cut, but it's not just that in like a factor of like how many coins are circulating. It's important because of the miners themselves. Miners are the ones keeping the blockchain running. Miners are the ones transacting, solving all these algorithmic problems to process your hashes, put them up on the block, and then get those blocks sent through to the blockchain. The miners are the ones doing the work. They're getting paid in Bitcoin, however many it is. I don't care if it's 1 Bitcoin a day. If these miners that are upholding the system, their pay gets cut in half, they're going to need more money in order to stay solvent. Ergo, the price will go up because there is a cost to Bitcoin. There is a cost to mining. There's a cost to maintaining the blockchain. And that cost, because of the halving, and also because of energy consumption, will just inevitably make energy more expensive as time goes on, unless we find better alternatives to energy. But even then, still, the mathematical ratio of your profits being cut in half for the current energy output that you have every 4 years, more or less, that in itself will drive the price higher. So I don't think the halving will ever be insignificant for Bitcoin. I got a little sidetracked there, but I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't lose too many people, but if I did, whatever. Hit that like button and subscribe just in case. We've got two months here, okay? What I measured here was the first halving from November of 2012. That was the first halving to when we started to break out. I would say definitely not this month. This month we were less than 10% up. Moved up a little bit, sure, but we were boring. Whole month of November, whole month of December, and then come January, that's when we started to pump. So really 2 months is what it took for us to move. We had a boring month, and then the next month we got exciting. Next halving was in July. We actually moved down and then sideways, still sideways. It didn't really break out until 5 months later. So, whether you want to say 2 months, 1 month, whatever, we didn't break out until 5 months later on this one. I think it was May 11th. I really should look it up. But we moved sideways. It didn't really break out until 5 months later again. Okay, so boring. Yes, we moved up a little bit, but then boring for a while before we really started to kick things off. The most exciting part of the cycle, every cycle does happen after the halving, but first there seems to be this halving lull. And being that we just had our halving this cycle on April 20th, the last month here, I would safely assume that this month will be anything but exciting. So back to the main point of what I was saying earlier, I see a lot of big accounts talking about how we found our low and now it's go time. And I just want to be clear in saying that I don't believe that is the low, but even if it is, even if these other accounts are right, if my account is wrong saying that is not the low, we're going to go lower. Even if I'm wrong, that still doesn't change the fact that we are absolutely not going to new all-time highs this month. I very much doubt it even happens in June, but it would at least be June, at least. Historically speaking, from historical references, at least it would be June, but likely it'll be past June. Likely it'll be past July. We're looking at August, September, potentially even later than that before Bitcoin breaks this high. The bull cycle is not over. That does not mean we're going to move down until September or August. That's not what that means. We could, but that's not what that means. Likely what's going to happen is we're very near our low. I've been saying this since we were up at this area here, that we will likely find our low in May. Well, here we are in May. It's May 7th on this chart right now. It's May 6th where I'm at, but it'll soon be May 7th. But you know, I've been saying early May, first half of May, if not mid-May, is when I would expect us to find our low, and I think we're very close to it, time-wise and price. I just don't think we're there yet. Again, let's assume I'm wrong. Let's assume that's the low. Well, cool. I still don't think we're breaking this high until probably July or later, and I'm really thinking August or later. So we're going to be moving sideways for quite some time, and we can go above this line. That's not breaking it, right? If you wick above it, we've had those moments before in history, right, where like we broke this line here, we wicked above it, but it wasn't broken. So when I say we're moving sideways, if we see something like this, we could still come back down. We were moving sideways in kind of a tight range here from essentially March, the 13th of March that week, until October. Literally until October. That's when we broke out, late October at that, right? So we can move sideways in a fairly tight range. Look at how actually like pretty symmetrical those are. This is a little wider even. We can move sideways in a pretty tight range for a while. Just because it's Bitcoin doesn't mean it can't be boring. In fact, I would argue and say that the worst kind of price action for most people in this market is sideways price action. For long-term investors, it's kind of boring, right? It can bore you out, make you look elsewhere. If you're a true long-term investor, it shouldn't bore you. You should have your eyes set on the end game. For day traders, it can be good because you're range bound and stuff like that, but it depends on how much volatility we get. But man, I'm getting off topic here. What I really want to talk about is I do believe that Bitcoin is going lower in price. I believe that we're going to see price go between 52K and 54.5K, and I'm very much leaning on that 54.5K number because I hear too many people talk about 52K. It makes me think that either 52K is not going to happen or we will excel past it. We really could. It is possible to see 49K or lower. It really is possible. I don't personally believe it. I do think this 54K area is going to hold, and based off of this low to high, our extended area, our expected extensions are between now, actually, because yesterday's high, see, the last few videos I've made, I thought these were the highs, so we had different projections. 52K was the bottom, but as this moves up, these lines move down. Now we've got 54.3K, 51.5K as our low. We could, we could go down to 51.5K, but I'm more focused on this 53K, 54K, 55K even area. But I would at least expect we go to 54.3K. That's my genuine assumption at this point in time. If we look at the daily RSI, it's very sad. Lower highs, lower lows throughout all of it. We're just not promoting anything. You have no problem hanging out below the 50. You get above it and you're like, nope, I want to be back below it. You have no problem being oversold. You have a problem with even getting above the 60 since about a month ago. So yeah, I think you're bearish. I think you are moving down. Your move up promoted no growth or no volume at all. Like I guess you had a little bit of volume on this day, but no follow through. The most volume that we've seen since this day was yesterday on this rejection candle, and I very much think that we're going to go lower. The real testament to that, I suppose, or confirmation, validation we're looking for would be a break below this 618 here, which just so happens to be at these lows here. So if we break, and not wick, again, if we break, we get a candle day to close below this line, that will solidify my opinion, my belief, my probability, or possibility, I should say, that I'm addressing is that we're going below this low here, down to 54 to 52K, maybe a little bit lower than 52K, right? Probably around 54 to 53K if I really had to guess, but who knows? Everybody talking about 52K, man, it makes me think it's either not going to happen or we're going to blow right through it. And if we do blow right through it, I mean, that's 52K right there. It's 50K. I mean, maybe 51K could hold. If not, man, we're looking at prices like down to 47K, maybe 49K, stuff like that. So dramatically lower than where we're at now, but still not bad. We can drop that low. We can even drop lower and still be fine overall. But I'm going way off topic here, guys. I keep losing the whole main focus of this video, which is we're not ready to go yet. it's still going to be boring. I've been saying this for a little while now, but I'm going to say it again. Every pump is not something to get excited on. It's not something to FOMO into. If you do, it's okay, whatever. It's still, it's still at a discount. Hold, don't, not financial advice. None of this financial advice. Do what you want, but don't sell down here. Don't sell down here. If you bought up here, don't sell down there. Don't complete the full circle of bad choices. Wait for it to come back to you. Buy more down here. Don't sell down here. Buy more. And then wait for it to come back to you. And instead of being neutral, you'll be up a little bit. And I know what that looks like. I'm going to get rid of it. But what I'm trying to say is things are going to be boring. Do not get excited on the pumps and do not feel despair on the dumps. Try to treat it opposite, and not even with despair. Try to treat it like, if a pump comes, be patient. It's a test of your patience. It's a test of your not adhering or acting on any bit of FOMO you feel. And I'm not just talking about Bitcoin. Obviously, when Bitcoin pumps, altcoins will pump too. Whenever things dump, don't look at it as despair. Look at it as a moment of opportunity. It's the time to make a move and do something, And I do think that Bitcoin and a lot of altcoins are going to drop lower than their most recent lows. But I do think there's a handful of altcoins that have already found their lows too. Okay, so not everything is going to form a new low, but I would expect everything or most cryptos, even if they don't form a new low, they're all going to go down with BTC. They might not go down as much, but that remains to be seen. We're very near our low. All that to say, we're very near our low. We're just not there yet for BTC, in my opinion. I think we have one more drop to go. It's going to take us, I'm thinking, around 40 or 54 to 53K, but the real range is like 54.3 to 51.5. That's the real range now. We could go lower. It is possible. Don't be scared if we go lower. Get excited, right? Don't feel the despair. Feel the excitement. Feel the opportunity that it is to buy down here, okay? If that happens. And if it doesn't, opportunity is still abundant here, even at the current price. It's still abundant. So really, beyond all that, this next month to 3 months of time is going to be a test of your patience, right? It's going to be a test of all of your little emotions, because we're likely going to be range bound for a very long time. So no matter how exciting it might seem, no matter how sad it might seem, we're probably not going anywhere fast. That's just the likelihood. If anything, if we are going to go anywhere fast, I suppose it would be to the downside. We do have the total capability of doing a 40% drop or more. It is possible. I personally don't see it happening, but that would kind of come in line with some drops that we've seen around the halving in previous cycles. Even more than that would be on the table at that rate. But I personally don't think we're going to see a 40% drop. I don't think we're going to see a 50% drop. I could see a 30% drop happening, but that's kind of the most that I would think personally. But even with me saying that, I do accept the possibility of going lower. It's harder for me to see as like a likelihood. Right now, this might even be a likelihood. Something between this line here and this line here, that's a likelihood in my opinion. Down here, it's a possibility. Down here, it's a possibility, but a lot less probable, if that makes sense. But time will tell. It can become more probable if we start doing more bearish things. But anyways, guys, I'm just rambling at this point. Lower we go, boring we will be. Don't let anybody, I say don't let anybody convince you otherwise, but do your own research, concoct your own opinions. Take everything that you hear, including anything that I say, with a grain of salt. Take it for what it's worth, but don't take it to heart. Don't take it as a prophecy. It's my opinion, and it's everybody's opinion. Nobody knows where the market is heading right now. But based off of previous cycles, based off of what we're seeing in the technical indicators, based off of the rejection that we just had, and that's clearly, in my opinion, like I don't know how that could be a more clear rejection of your golden retracement area. I just believe we're going lower. It's a lower high, lower lows. Continue with the trend. The trend is your friend until the end of the trend, right? And the last time that we bounced off of this daily like this, right? Look at how much follow through we had. We didn't stop till we had a new high, right? we didn't stop. Even here, we rejected, but we still had a new high. We pumped a lot with a lot of volume. The histogram here, this little like faded line, and then you see the volume goes above it. That's your average volume, so above average volume. Back here, we tipped it again, tipped the green line, same thing, but look at how sad it is. You had a little bit above average volume here, but no follow through in the last 3 days. It's not the same. And oftentimes when we react at this line, you might tip it a couple times, but then inevitably go below it. That's the prime area to buy. Below the line, that's the prime area to buy. Sometimes you tip it, but then you pump up, and then later, look, no volume. Later you go down. Sometimes you tip it and you go up, but totally different circumstances. You were oversold down here, ready to, get going. Same kind of idea here in the downtrend. You get above the line, perfect area to sell. You're above the line, perfect area to sell, right, out of the whole trend. Whenever it's a downtrend, uptrend, that's kind of how I treat it. So for the current trend that we're at, I would expect that the prime areas to buy, to get in for Bitcoin and probably most cryptos, and that line probably actually would curve down as time goes on. It might, something like that, who knows. The prime area would be under the line. And I don't think we're going to stray too far from it, but I do think lower we go. And that's all I have to say. So if you like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more. Be patient, my friends. Be patient, right? Things are not, even when we find our low, even when people make their videos, and I will make my video where I'm just excited, jacked beyond belief that we found our low. I will make that video when I believe that to happen. And it will be exciting. But remember that there's still a lot of time, not even a lot of time, but months ahead of us before the real exciting things happen. We found our low. That's cool, but we're not moving yet, right? And we haven't found our low yet. I'm just talking about when we do. As exciting as it might seem, pump the brakes. Understand that we still have time, probably, at least a couple months from here, from this point in time. Even from the low. If the low is to happen in the next week or two, which I think it will, we'll probably have 2 months or more of consolidating, moving up, moving down, not progressing further higher, not progressing further lower, but just moving sideways. And I digress, man. I just keep saying the same stuff, so I'm going to end it there. If you like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all for coming. Take care. Bye-bye.